Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Player One versus World StrangeCast podcast. I almost botched that completely, but no, StrangeCast podcast. We are here for the internet's best kept Life is Strange secret. Maybe the biggest Life is Strange podcast in the world, but maybe I don't want to get yelled at again. We'll leave that for the time being, Adam. And speaking of Adam, my co-host Adam is here. Adam, hello.
Am I actually here, or am I just an illusion? Like that's a deep thought right there.
Potentially he could be illusion. He's sprouting his guile haircut, as you can see, very Street Fighter-esque.
It's sprouting, yes. It's just kind of popping up today. I watered it. It's kind of growing at this point. So put in Miracle Grow into my head. So it's getting there.
Yeah, he's ditched the cap look. He is representing the fresh look here for this podcast. So we're living life. But yes, welcome back. I'm one of your hosts, obviously, as well, Adnan. But yeah, we are one of the longest running Life is Strange podcasts, potentially one of the biggest. Before someone jumps on me in the comments again, you'll get a 5-paragraph response from me if you do. But anyway, if you are new here, as always, before we start, please do consider dropping a subscribe on the channel, turn on notifications, like the video, share with your friends. Hate saying that, but it helps support the channel. It helps, seeing the interactions we get is really helpful for a very small channel. And StrangeCast available on all podcast services. So we're available on Apple Podcasts. We're available on Spotify with the video version. Every podcast service, we're on there. We've just crossed 215 followers on Spotify, so thank you very much for that. And we've just crossed 8,000 plays across all podcast episodes on all platforms. So thank you very much for that. And also as well, we do host another podcast called The Lost Records Journal, which is a bi-weekly podcast on the Lost Records universe, which you can check out. And also the latest episode has been out there. So this is our final episode of July, which I kept saying in other episodes, we've already done it, but our scheduling has actually turned this into a 3-episode month. So you are fortunate to get 3 episodes of StrangeCast in the month of July.
How blessed are you all?
All blessed. We bring the blessings. You bring the blessings.
Up. Yes.
I believe in the last comment section as well, we had someone say, woo Adam Evalt. And I had to be like, no. Readdress that. I was like, no. It's boo. It's boo, boo, boo. But speaking of which, actually, before we even start, Adam, I didn't include in the show notes, but I need to remind everyone, Life is 2D has released episode 5, Polarized, in 2D format in a Game Boy. Gave us a shout out. Thank you very much for that. It's very much appreciated. We always give back to the community. I've not downloaded it yet myself. I did click on the video at the top end and it started playing obstacles in a 2D pixelated way. And I felt so nostalgic, even though that game was 9 years old, but I felt so nostalgic and it brought me back to my Game Boy days. So go and support that. It's free. That's the main thing, if anything else. It's a free community game made by someone in the Life is Strange community. It's very important to give back to those people. So giving a shout out to that. So go and check out. I'll try and put a link in the description. If I don't, Life is 2D, you can remind us and we'll put it in there. It'll be funny if he starts charging for it afterwards and like, hang on a minute, you said it's all free. And he's like, haha, he's played the game. But no, you won't do that. No, they're all free. It's a lovely little project. And I love supporting people from the community who have given back to this franchise. So check that out. Speaking of which, Adam, we've got quite a few news pieces before a main topic, which I think many people want to hear about. So should we kick things off?
Yes, definitely.
So this is a very small piece, if anything, but me and Adam have talked about it, and I've kind of put in my show notes that Square Enix has finally acknowledged this exists again. So they basically put out on the 20th of July, they put follow Alex and Steph's extraordinary adventure in the official spin-off novel to Life is Strange True Colors, Life is Strange Heatwaves, which I believe some people have already picked up. I've seen some people actually have a copy of it, even before, I think, the end of month release date, which is when it kind of comes out for us. Some people seem to have picked up a copy early. We also have an audiobook version with none other than Erica Mori. Erica Mori has done the audiobook for that on Audible, so that is not just like a listing that's like a listing error or anything. She has actually recorded an audiobook, which is cool. So yeah, we're actually finally getting this. This is in between, obviously, double exposure. It feels kind of like a little bit... I don't know, Adam. It feels kind of a bit weird now in the climate that it's being released in, because obviously we found out about this last year. We talked about it. This is the second prose novel after Steph's story. It's a continuation of Life is Strange True Colors, but then the direction from Square Enix has literally just shifted completely to double exposure, but also with Max's story. And like Alex Chen was like the kind of front face mascot for the time being on this thing. So I'm kind of a bit like, this is a bit weird, but yeah, looking forward to it. I imagine you're picking the audiobook up.
Yeah, I actually, if you go on to the Amazon page, the audiobook is about $10 more than the paperback.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, what the heck? Like, usually the audiobooks are like pretty similar price to like the paperback. Like the paperback looks like it's about $15, and I would imagine the audiobook is like around that price, 10 to 15. But no, the audiobook is 25. And I'm like, wait a second. What the heck, dude? It's not like I can't afford $25, but I'm like, that's a lot for an audiobook, $25.
It is a lot of money. I mean, I think it is free as well if you sign up to Audible for the trial. I think you can.
Yeah, but I've already done my trial, so
we got a new email set up for that.
Yeah, put it on my Cast a Garden email. Yeah,
exactly, boo. But I will be listening to the audiobook version definitely. But do go and support Brittany Morris, who's the author of the novel as well. If you are a fan of Steph Gingrich, you are a fan of Alex Chen, they have a lot of story at the minute. They have obviously this prose novel. They also have the Forget Me Not series, Life is Strange. So do check that out. And also as well, if you have followed our social feeds, we know that the Emma Vicelli interview will be coming hopefully to the channel in the month of August, very early, probably the same week as this video. So do stay tuned to that. And also as well, for another thing, follow us on all social feeds, because Adam has probably noticed this as well. I basically turned all the social feeds on Player One versus World into a news aggregator. So it's basically like an IGN style GameSpot thing where you need Life is Strange news, you need Deck 9 news, you don't know news, it's going to be posted on that. So you'll start seeing things if you follow us on all those feeds. So do follow us, so do support us as well. I seem to have broken the Instagram algorithm at the minute. We've kind of grown on that quite nicely, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah.
But anyway, Adam, next topic.
Yes,
So
definitely.
little one, but also a personal favorite for me, if anything. 22nd of July, we hope you'll all join us in wishing Rachel Amber a happy birthday, which was posted on the Life is Strange Twitter account. Rachel Amber is very much obviously my favorite character. Love that character. Obviously, 3 actors have played that character as well, as we spoke about. A bit of a fun fact for you. So you had Kylie Brown, who did the VO for Life is Strange True Colors and Before the Storm. You had Danielle Vivartis, who did motion capture for Rachel in Before the Storm. And obviously you also had Anastasia Davison, who did the facial capture for Rachel Amber in the Life is Strange Remastered Collection. All 3 of those interviews are on the channel if you are new here as well, so you can go and check them out. And Adam has spoken to Stace. We've spoken to Stace about being Rachel, among many other things, in Life is Strange Remastered Collection. But yeah, very excited for this. Rachel Amber, her birthday, one of my favorite characters. Adam, I don't know how you feel about Rachel Amber. I've actually never asked you about this. It could be
No, I think Rachel Amber is very much like in-depth character. Like there's a lot of nuance to what she is, what she can be, and I think Before the Storm added a lot to the Life is Strange 1 story to see like how much of a impact that was on Chloe's life. So yeah, like good on Deck 9 for creating a very good character, very in-depth, and just like a very impactful to this whole series.
Yeah, for sure. Like, obviously, that Donut game, the first one, she's just a plot device, essentially, if anything, like a very powerful plot device. But, like, they gave her life, if anything, in this in BTS and attached to a lot of people. I still think Kylie Brown is probably one of the most perfect castings on in the entire series, where I think you couldn't...
Yeah.
I can't hear anyone else do that role. It's like, it's on brand in the same way as Hannah Telle is, if anything. But yeah, it's great to have her here. Obviously, it's great to have her story continues in the comics. I've read the comics. I enjoyed what Emma Vicelli did with that in that comic series. So it's quite interesting to have followed her story. One of my favorite characters, as Adam said as well, very deep, complex character. I think you enjoy a lot of things when you kind of like explore more who she is and then also the people she attaches herself to, which is what you find in the comics. A bit of a spoiler here. There's like scenes where she's talking to Max, and obviously we don't have that in the games. And it's quite interesting to see how Emma Vicelli kind of like crafts those stories where it's 2 characters who had never met but have such a connection with them through Chloe. But big fan of Rachel Amber. And before we wrap up this new segment anyway, well, Adam, I'm not going to take you down Loretta Rice theories, if anything, but do we see Kylie Brown or Rachel Amber in Double Exposure in another timeline?
Nope. I don't think so. I don't think we will. I mean, it's, I don't know. Like, I don't think. Okay, so if our theories are correct that this was supposed to be like a separate entity of Life is Strange, and then they just kind of stuck Max in because of Square, right? Like that's too many characters for them to stick in when they were just focusing on Max. You know, I don't think it was the intention to put in Max, but to say that like Rachel Amber would be here, I think that's I think it will be kind of a stretch in terms of. Like, I don't think in the background of this game, you know, I don't think they really did that.
It would be like me turning up to the restaurant you work at like tomorrow or the day after, and I'm just standing there, and you're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, and you're like, dude, just go
Well,
away.
where's
It's
my
like,
fish and chips?
yeah, you're like, dude, like, we're not recording a podcast. It's like, why have you flown to America? Why are you standing there? It's just, it's like that out of place with Rachel Amber. Like, I think if anything,
Yeah.
obviously we had the entire Loretta Rice meltdown and people putting Kylie Brown on IMDb without like her own knowledge as well, because it's a publicly listed platform. I think maybe, and it's a bit of a weird one because Ashly, the actor who plays Loretta Rice, Ashly looks obviously very much like Loretta Rice, and they're doing like facial capture, they're doing performance capture and stuff. But I feel like maybe there's an intentional design with that, just in theory, because I don't think it's just as lazy as people have labeled it to. I think maybe there's like a shade of like they've done it intentionally, because there might be like a bit of like a hallucination moment or something where Max is like, like when she sees her. So it might be like that. I don't think it's going to be her appearing in physical form or like, you know, shaking hands with Max or shaking hands with Safi or something. I think like there might be some kind of like illusion of reference, but then again, I think it does what you say, where it's like, does it really fit with the story? Does it really fit with the theme of the game? So I think at the moment I'm going to be like, no, not really. If anything, I think maybe it goes on down to like a hallucination moment or something that kind of like suggests it. But I think for the time being, her story seems to be done at the time being. But again, we never know what can happen. We just see Max come back this year, which is still quite crazy. So, Adam, next topic.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is actually a big one. I think this is a really good one as well. So actually, coincidentally, on the time we're recording on Sunday the 28th of July, 9 years ago, Don't Nod Entertainment, Square Enix, released Life is Strange Episode 4, The Dark Room. So
yeah, as we're recording this.
Yeah, the exact same day, which is like perfect, because usually sometimes we forget the anniversaries. But 9 years ago today, we had Dark Room come up. This was the setup for Polarize, which is the final episode. And I'll come on to the other tweet in a second, Adam. But like one of the things I remember as well, because I was reviewing this at the time, got one of my famous 4.5 scores on Hardcore Game when I recorded it out of 5. I had pre-accessed this before anyone else did, so I was reviewing it. I had a code from Square. We were writing about it, reviewing it. I couldn't believe when I finished it, like that experience, because like obviously you do it before, like, you know, there's guides and stuff, like to find all the collectibles, and I was spending more time trying to get all the collectibles and stuff. But when I got to that ending, I was like, holy. Oh, I was like, oh my God, I like lost it. And I went around the Reddit thread a couple of like times afterwards, like, because obviously Life is Strange started to pick up popularity. And I was like, people were speculating, and I was like, I don't think you know what's going to come right now. I was like, I don't think you really know what you're about.
That's the thing about this. It's just like, this is the third time I think we've talked about this, like, as we've been doing this podcast for 3 years at this point. It's been 3 years. It has been just about,
3 years,
I think,
and 4 months next, I think, as of August.
Yeah, but who's counting? You know, not me, certainly.
I count days and the minutes and seconds.
Seconds. No, I keep saying every time we come around to this anniversary that like there's only maybe like a handful of video game twists similar to this, and it's almost like that's amazing that like Life is Strange like is in the pocket of one of the greatest twists in video game history, you know? Kind of like the twist of like, wow, Duke Nukem Forever actually sucked. That's what a twist of a game. So Duke Nukem Forever is in that like pocket of surprises of video games. But quite honestly, yeah, nothing really beats that twist in the fourth episode. Even my friend who played it for the first time this past year, like he finally came to that part and was just like, no idea, and his mind was blown, and he started to pick up like all the pieces of like how he could be. He didn't see it coming, so it's like it was perfect, man.
Yeah, and do you know what as well? I don't think I've asked you on the last 3 times we've done the anniversaries. Yeah. Did you know Jefferson was the killer?
While I was playing it, no,
did you not say? I didn't say. Like, I had a moment where I thought of him, and then something happened. I was like, no, it can't be that. It's like, it doesn't seem right, if anything. I was like, no. I think there was one moment where I thought, like, maybe it is you. Like, you just seem hella sus. And then I was like, and then I moved away because I was thinking, actually, you seem a little bit too, you seem creepy, but a bit too nice as well at the same time. So I was like, I'm going to put my guard down, and then bang, Bryce gets a bullet in the head. I'm like, like, damn.
Because that's the thing. Is just like it set up so perfectly, like red herring of Nathan Prescott. Like he is the perfect red herring. It's
Yeah.
like the whole setup of that game is perfect, you know? And that's why I'm looking forward to Lost Records, because Michel Koch's mind is so great in that way. You know, like I hope someday, and I say this a lot, like I hope someday that I can go down in music history, that my fourth wall breaking is like a different mindset. Like every different artist has a different mindset. And I think Michel Koch is really good at like leashing you along, like, no, come over here, bang, and just like a different like a plot twist. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like Michel Koch is very good at just leashing you along. And I know that about him, and I'll see it on Lost Records, and he'll still trick me. He'll still trick me, guaranteed.
Yeah, he'll get us, because I think like that set up the final scene, at least, if anything else. It's like, you know, the kind of like she falls, you can't use her powers, the you know, you've been drugged, and it's just that creepiness when he comes out the shadow and you see his face, and it's like, and it's like, oh my god, it's like, it's truly, for me, I thought already episode 3 had one of the best cliffhanger endings of any episodic gaming. That like peaked it. I was like, this is probably one of the best episodes. If I re-reviewed the actual review of that episode, I would probably give it a 5 now in hindsight, because I think like I just was a little bit harsh. I think I kept like knocking points off because of like technical limitations and stuff. I think like that was the reason why I kept thinking like it's not a perfect game or perfect episode, if anything. But in the grand scheme of things, like the actual episode, the structure of it, obviously you get to go to the Vortex Club, which is quite cool. Like, you know, the party that they have, you know, when you pick someone like Breton's music and it's like, it's playing in the background and that kind of like banger, that's like my levels of like ever being in a music scene like that. Yeah. It all hit the vibes. Like that was a great scene. Then obviously going to the dark room, exploring it. You had the entire like whiteboard segment where you could like, you know, try and figure out the puzzle now, where you're starting to put the pieces together. The opening, which had the decision between choosing whether Chloe stays alive or not. It's I think it's probably the most complete episode, I think, out of any in the entire series. I think maybe episode 3 Chaos 3 challenges, but I think is, in terms of momentum, something that bridges the gap between 3 and 5. I think it's like the most perfect penultimate episode I've ever played in any episodic video game in history. And it's like including The Walking Dead, including The Wolf Among Us, including all Telltale stuff. I think it's like up there. It's like one of the best. It'd be like a top 10 episodic gaming episode of all time. If you were going to do like a list, I think it'd be in that bracket, if anything.
I also see you have a little side tangent on episode 4. Yeah. What is this?
Oh, on the notes, yes. So I thought this is actually quite fitting because Michel had tweeted about it. So I was like, you know what, Adam, we'll just include it because it's actually episode 4's anniversary. So someone on Twitter, or X as they call it these days, but we're going to call it Twitter because it is Twitter, a user called Kino, at Kino Strahl, tweeted saying, oh, by the way, speaking of development stuff, did you all know apparently there was an early, quote-unquote early, ending in episode 4 where Max was supposed to get arrested and get put in jail for overdosing Chloe? The game would ask if you wanted to end the story right there or choose another outcome. And then Michel, as the lovely gentleman he is, responded to it saying, yes, it was in our early scripts and we thought it was too weird to actually have endings before the 5th episode, so we scrapped the ideas, but I still like them. Which I think again is a sign of a good artist and a good creator and a good vision, because if you think that's like a great idea, which it does seem like an interesting idea, but then it kind of like, you know, it doesn't fit in with the overall theme of the game, because obviously if you're going to end the game there, it's going to be quite hard to kind of continue it on. You do scrap it. So I think it's quite, but I do think it's interesting though, because it's one of those things where you basically have a choice between keeping Chloe alive or dead in that part of the episode. And then you just basically jump back into your timeline and it's like the police aren't coming for you, if anything. So I did always have that implication thinking like, you know, if Max does kill her and you get stuck there, you know, the police aren't going to be like, you know, playing easy game here with that. But I thought it was an interesting thing that he actually thought of there.
Yeah, it's when you're writing scripts, like again, I am in the very, very teeny tiny fraction of like what Michel does, but like when you're writing scripts for something, like there are so many things that you write down and you think would work and you just kind of scrap it. I guarantee you this is like 1 out of like 20 like different early script things, because like when you're brainstorming, when you're in writers' rooms, you're just like you're throwing out ideas, hoping it sticks, and then you write it down on paper and you really see it implemented, and you're like, that would be cool. But I think what he says, kind of like it would be too weird to actually have endings before. So it's like one of those things that like you want it to work, but in practicality, it's just going to get in the way of things. So I guarantee this is like one out of 20 crazy things that they thought of.
Yeah, and it's a sign of a good artist because it's kind of a good idea as well, like, to kind of like explore. But then when your overarching game goes into a different direction, it doesn't really fit, because this would basically do what would be a problem with episodic gaming, where it starts becoming filler content. So it's like you basically start padding the episode out with a storyline that just wouldn't really be necessary in there. And I think that's the art with the first Life is Strange, where it's like, it's really quite balanced. There's not like a lot of padding. There's not like extra kind of like, it's built for its time. It's got like a lot of content that is just coherent, connects together.
Yeah.
But nothing that I'm kind of sitting there thinking, well, like really, you could just remove that, if anything. Like even for example, like the development of Kate and having a scene where you go and see in the hospital if you keep her alive. That's a nice touch. And it's just not like basically that they expand it into like a 3-hour extra kind of add-on where you basically start talking to Kate and deal with things. It's just a nice addition to an already constructed episode. Doesn't jeopardize the episode, doesn't cause any off balance. Nice segment that you include if you've chosen that decision.
Yeah, definitely.
So I kind of like that. And before we move on as well, because I think we're coming towards the end of this topic, did you kill Chloe here or not?
Oh, every time. I kill Chloe every time.
We're
I kill her at the bay. I kill her at the house. I kill her in my dreams every time Chloe dies.
Boom, guys. Boom. Go in the comments. Boom,
no, I never. I don't think. I think maybe like I think most of the time I actually let her live, because I'm just like, I don't think Max would do it. Like in terms of her as a character, I don't think Max would do it. She's not. She can't go through with it, is what I'm saying. But like, I let her live most times.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. It just felt weird, man. It felt weird.
Yeah,
like, I think
like at the junkyard where Chloe accidentally shoots herself, I do a rewind and make her shoot herself multiple times. Of course I do that.
I think some fan people are doing that at the minute with double exposure coming out, doing to torture themselves with the pain of like not seeing Chloe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't do it. There's something I felt so bad, and it's like such a weird. I think this is like one of the more ethical issues that's been put in a video game, which I think adds more profound implications on what you pick as a decision. Great episode, great episode. As I said, if I went back and reviewed this, I would give it a 5 now, personally speaking. I think it's that good. Adam, speaking of which, Michel Koch, next topic.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Because it's not
so excited.
Because it's none other than Lost Records Bloom and Rage. Yay. So obviously we love talking about Lost Records Bloom and Rage, and we've talked about it hugely. Velvet Cove as a segment on the last Lost Records Journal episode, so you can check this out. But since then we got another video, so teasing again, if anything, Adam, as they are. And this one was really cool. So we've seen more locations of Velvet Cove. So it's like almost like Oxenfree style campsite, Friday the 13th-esque. We've seen with
a radio.
With a radio.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to be playing from there. Hopefully it's Castor Gardens Retro Policy,
that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Getting that or Lost Records Journal episode. Yeah, bloody hell.
I mean, if anybody from Donut is listening to this and they just want some custom music made, that's totally free, hit me up on the DMs or emails, just I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. Custom music for free. And
speaking of music, Adam, as well, the composer who is doing this, who we don't know yet.
Yes. Yeah.
They are they are magical, whoever they are. If there's one person or two person or whoever they are, like listening to it in the background of this video is like.
Yeah, I'm listening to it again right now. It's definitely nice, dude. It's definitely a good vibe.
It gives me Castor Garden vibes. I'm just saying that, like the piano, and like you can feel us like.
I listen to a lot of composers, and who am I thinking of? There's definitely. Oh man, dude!
I tell you what, they're not using a Hans Zimmer pack. I'll tell you that right now.
No, they're not using a Hans Zimmer pack. Well, yeah, you can keep talking. I'm just like looking up who it gives me vibes of, and then you all can like hear their music, and yeah.
Can we play on this while getting hit by
What-
copyright?
I don't know. I want to risk it. Yeah.
Do you want give us a shout out to the composer, and then people can check out and see if there's a connection there or a track which is similar to them. But as I said to Adam there as well, the music is just even more fitting with the environment. Every time they show the environment off, they play music. It's like my hype just people are sleeping on this game. People are sleeping on Lost Records Bloomer Rage. I'm saying that repeatedly. This will be the sleeper hit of 2025. This is going to be such a big game. I think people are going to sleep on it, and then it's just going to take off into a different stratosphere. It is, I have very much Life is Strange 1 vibes when I see this game. Like, Life is Strange 1 was slept on. It only picked up steam later on when it was out and people talked about it. This, though, I'm all for.
Definitely, dude.
Have you found your composer?
No, I haven't found him yet. I will.
Is it an indie
shortly.
composer or someone who's...
It is definitely indie composer.
It would be pretty funny if it is them. That would be like...
Yeah. We'll go to the next topic, but like I will keep searching. I will find the name. But yeah.
Before we move on to the next topic, I'm going to ask you, Adam, what's in the cabin?
It's me. I'm in the cabin.
You're in the cabin.
I'm in the cabin. I'm a dangerous person. I am in the cabin.
I imagine it's going to be a scene where we cut into that and you're in the cabin on your laptop trying to find the composer. It's like, I'm still finding him. I'm still finding the composer. It's like, I'll get that guy.
No, it's not even me on my laptop. It's just me in like just a lawn chair just smiling.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of which, that would be creepy. The lawn chair stuff.
Yeah.
I could see something like that happening. It reminds me very much of Lost thinking of that, but could see that happening though. People have said it's a witch.
Dose one. So okay, so it's DOSEONE, Dose one. It definitely gives me Dose one vibes. He's a rapper, but like he definitely does beats similar to this. Okay, let me just make sure I am thinking of but he did Enter the Gungeon. Am I thinking he doesn't do like happy stuff a lot, but like he definitely has like the right feel. Am I thinking of the right guy? I might be stupid. I could be stupid. There is a possibility. Don't worry, everybody, that I could be stupid.
Completely been tripped up here by this.
Yeah. Like Escape Academy. Like Dose One can do stuff like what we heard in that kind of music. So Dose One combined with Scientific, like it just has that feel. I'm interested to like finally know who the composer is, and if I've heard of them. But this music definitely sounds familiar to me, but I listen to a lot of different composers, so I'm like mixing my thoughts around,
No, it's interesting.
I hope it's Chris Remo. If Chris Remo is composing this, I will freak out, dude. Chris Remo composed for Gone Home and Firewatch. Yes.
Oh, God. Gone Home was beautiful for that. Oh.
That's what I mean. If Chris Remo is composing this, hell yes, dude. Also, Chris Remo is UK.
Hey,
yeah,
man.
London, UK. So he's based out there.
I think as well, like the AA composers, the indie composers, really like just make something quite out there in the video games. Like when you see it in like this, like, I'm not taking away from AAA composers. If you are a AAA composer working in a game, great. But like when you see like Lost Records and you hear that melody, it's like dun dun dun, and it's like
hot take here. Hot take for me.
Hot take. Here he comes.
The AA and indie composers are the only ones that actually make real music. Hot take for me. Because again, if you go into like AAA compositions, the problem here for AAA compositions, we're talking about like your Call of Duties, your Watch Dogs Legions, right? I think Watch Dogs 2 like was one of the better ones because it was made by Hudson Mohawk, who that was his first video game composition. He's usually an experimental club musician. But when you're like a AAA, there's so much rules. Right.
Yeah.
So like your Square Enix is going to say like, hey, we wanted it this structure and this way. There's so much like in-box development, whereas indie and AAA, they allow them to make that art. They allow them to have their flavor. There's a scientific flavor. There's a Dose One flavor. There's a Lena Raine flavor. There's a Chris Remo flavor, right? You can tell who's composing what.
Yeah.
And there's a style to it. Whereas AAA is just so much in the box, and it's just so frustrating to listen to because it's like, just free yourself. Come on now.
I would say the only minor exception at the moment I can probably think off the top of my head is like obviously Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before the Storm, where Jonathan Morelli and Daughter came in, but their musical.
But that's also a AA.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's not necessarily AAA on that. It's still I would argue that's still AA.
That's when they treated AA. Now it's AAA. Now they like pretty much like out since True Colors, like since Angus and Julia Stone, it's been like AAA. Like they've been treating it like a AAA game. But if you're going off that, as you said, like you're treating it as like a on the precipice of like a AAA. You bring in composers who have musical backgrounds because obviously Jonathan Morelli of Sid Matters is a musician, and the same with Daughter. Daughter are a musical act. They're not out and out composers. They're not just a pure and through. But it does make sense though. I agree with you as well because those are the people who are making music. We had Steph Trivison on here, did the track for Your Love for True Colors. That's through Sync Licensing. She's an indie artist whose music is in Life is Strange, but that's not done from a composer high end. That's from an indie artist who's done Sync Licensing music, who's then been put into a AAA game, which I think it is one of those things. It's like you do see that with like films, TV, video games. The higher end composers will start gravitating
sounding the same.
And it's a bad thing, as you said, like even same with Tell Me Why. I interviewed Ryan Lawton here from Sunlux. He's from Sunlux background. It's like he didn't have a choice in like the tracks that they picked for like the trailers and stuff, but the music that he picked there in the game was like he was making it as a musical background. It works perfect for him. So I think it's a good. I think it's a good hot take, if anything. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
We will keep up to date with Lost Records, and it'll go into this other topic, which I'll include here. Was the fact that I spotted this, Adam. They haven't actually mentioned this publicly, and again, I put it on the Player One versus the World's Twitter feed, Facebook feed. We're on everything, so do check it out. But it was a message from Don't Nod, and it was actually in the email that they sent. So it was a summer sale email, and I clicked on it because I was going to delete it at first, thinking like whatever. And underneath Lost Records, when they showed the videos and stuff, they put this message which said, keep your eyes peeled on our social media because there's more Bloom and Rage news coming very soon, and very soon is underlined, which, I'm very excited for that. And I'm going to just ask you very quickly, Gamescom in August?
I'm saying August when? Gamescom.
Middle, maybe like the 19th or 20th.
21st to the 25th.
Oh, look, I was so close.
Yeah.
So, I think they'll have a presence there. I don't think it's gonna be big.
I think so too.
I don't think it's gonna be like massive because there's still a lot of time before this game comes out. I think we'll see more though. I think it's definitely obviously gonna be more of like a Velvet Cove. Like we're gonna show I'm gonna
say this right now. Everyone's gonna be overwhelmed in August. I think a lot of things are gonna be coming out and announced in August. I'm gonna say this. I think we're gonna hear more Switch 2 news pretty soon.
Yes, the good old Switch 2. Yeah, we're still waiting.
I think we're gonna hear more about it. We're gonna hear this. There's just a lot coming out in August, and I think Gamescom is gonna be pretty big in terms of like gaming news that everyone's gonna start feeling overwhelmed. We're gonna get some like official dates on a lot of different things, I think.
Because it's been a quiet year, hasn't it? Like, there's not much out there now into 2025, barring obviously Life is Strange Double Exposure and a couple of other pieces. But everything, it's like 2025 is like pick-up year for the video game industry, which is kind of like a bit difficult because obviously Lost Records is then going to have to start fighting with other things around it and like establish IPs. But as I said, I think people are sleeping on this game. I think it's going to wake up in a big way. It's going to become a hopefully a big hit like Life is Strange in itself. Speaking of Life is Strange, next topic.
Yes, let's do this.
We're going to Life is Strange developer, or Life is Strange Double Exposure developer and True Colors developer and Before the Storm developer, Deck 9, who put out something which kind of caught people by surprise. It was on 22nd of July, put a tweet out saying, we're currently hiring a temporary animations for an unannounced AAA adventure game. This is a fully remote contract animated position. Head over to Deck 9 Careers for more information to apply. They've obviously since then said that we've got enough applications in. Adam, I think people immediately said it's going to be a season pass for Double Exposure. I don't think so, because obviously they just said it's an adventure game, AAA. Some people think it's going to be a sequel for Double Exposure or another Life is Strange game. I don't think so yet, because I think personally this is going to be the project that the Frost team is working on. Obviously, Stefan Frost, Zachary Andrews, who we've interviewed from The Expanse.
Ooh, shout out to Stefan Frost, because Gojira was playing at the Olympics, so I know he's a big Gojira fan.
Hey.
I was like, as soon as I saw Gojira playing the opening ceremony, like, hey, Stefan Frost, he loves Gojira, so shout out to him.
I love my favorite one will always be after we spoke to Stefan. It was like that loaf video I sent you where it's like a bread and it falls over and it like makes a noise. And I just said it to Adam and said Frost's sense of humor, and I also laughed as well.
Yeah, dude.
Stefan was I think that's an underrated interview on the channel. If anything, I love speaking to Stefan Frost. Lovely, like his history was so interesting to learn about things. And same with Zachary Andrews, who's the motion capture director on The Expanse. Their team was really interesting. It's quite that's the flavor profile, Adam. I think that you've always said that you wanted Deck Nine to make their own IP adventure game, and when you start seeing developers like that start making games outside of Life is Strange, you see the talent that is there, and it is very much true that for that with who was working on that Expanse game. That Expanse game was in itself short because of whatever reason it was, like, you know, as Stefan explained that, but it's like it was short, but it was still enjoyable and it was still good quality of it. And I think that's where Deck Nine has its strengths, barring obviously all the other stuff that's happened in between it. But it's like that's where they are good with it. So I think if anything, and obviously we don't take much more away from this news, Adam, do you think this is Life is Strange? Because I personally don't.
No. I don't think it is going to be Life is Strange. I think we're finally going to see an original IP coming out of Deck Nine.
You reckon? I think independent, self-published.
Yes.
Oh.
I am banking on this. So
interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Even in itself, I could even think it's like almost a Telltale collaboration again. Do you like they did with The Expanse? And it might even be Telltale that they're working with or something as a publisher. But like, yeah, I think personally it's like it's a different thing. So it's a unique IP or whatever it is going to be, but it'll be published by someone else. I think they're going to be working with another team, and this will probably be the Expanse team that is working on this. So yeah, fingers crossed, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm very interested, but I don't think this is Life is Strange. I don't think we're even getting anywhere near Life is Strange territory at the moment. I think they need to see numbers from that new game, if anything. Speaking of which, Life is Strange news here, Adam, and a little piece as well. Have you seen another little random event from the marketing team of Life is Strange popped out of nowhere, as always, as well? But it's our next little bit of tidbit news. So the Photography Foundation, which is a UK-based foundation, put this on Instagram, and they put, for our next event taking place in August, we are thrilled to announce our talk on photography-related careers and gaming in collaboration with Square Enix. I'm not reading the rest is jargon. In anticipation for the release of their adventure game, Life is Strange will be hosting a fun-filled talk featuring Hannah Telle, the voice actor from the game, sharing her work experience in the gaming industry. During the talk, you'll have the chance to pick her brain about her careers in video games, catch an exclusive sneak peek at the new game, and be invited to in our excited video gaming and photography public competition. Tickets are £3. They're almost sold out, actually. I checked that. But
man, that's a heavy ticket.
Yeah, it's a bit big. Mate, so I'm not going to this, by the way. It's on short notice, unfortunately. If it was more notice, it'd be great. I've obviously been to London for the last 2 months. So infuriated that it's not happened. But even when I was looking at it, where my brother lives and whatnot, it's an hour drive and stuff away from that. And I'm like, I'm not commuting around London, like just doing this. Because I don't know if Hannah Telle's actually here, like in present, physical Hannah Telle is here. She could even be like a Skype call or something, or like a Zoom call, Skype, showing my age, a Zoom call or something. Like she could be on a Zoom call. I don't know actually if she's physically appearing in here. There's a lot of comments saying here, like, you know, people saying, is it going to be live streamed? No one's replying to them, so I assume it's not live streamed. And obviously, you get an exclusive sneak peek at the game. I don't think it's going to be something big, if anything. It'd be funny if it's clearly priced up. Like,
yeah,
I don't think it's going to be anything big. I think it's going to be a minor event, but it's a cool event to host. It's cool for the Photography Foundation. I think if you have the chance and you live near London or you are in London, it's a great opportunity to speak to her. But in itself, Adam, and I kind of want to say this as well, I think, and I'll be really cutthroat about this, because I'm not doing it in a nasty way, I think the marketing has been diabolical so far for this game. Like, since the live stream event, they haven't done it. Like, they've announced at the showcase, the Xbox showcase, they announced one live stream event that they've done. And they've done this now, like a pop-up event. And the game is out in about 3 months from now. Like,
well, you know what the marketing strategy is.
Yeah, sit silently and just put it out.
Yeah, Max Caulfield is the marketing strategy. You say that the marketing has been in this. But it's really like, hey, Max is in this game, buy it now. Which, in full disclosure, Adnan is buying the 2-week early, and I decided to just get the regular standard edition.
You know what?
Like,
I'm not too sure if I'm going to buy it myself. If now,
yeah, dude. Every
because
time
I
we
just
talk about this,
I don't want to give.
I
them
don't
money.
want to.
I don't want to give them. I. By the way, I've commented. I made my rare appearance on Reddit, and someone put all the editions, and I just put shame on Square Enix. I was like, this is a cash grab. It's dirty. I got 180 plus upvotes. I'm like, I never get that on Reddit.
Dude.
I'm discreet about it. But
people are not happy with Square on this, dude. Like, they're not.
Horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, the 2-week early access is insane, dude.
Yeah.
Because like I was listening to the Wolf Den podcast, and he was listing out every game that has early access. Like if you buy a bigger tier, like for Assassin's Creed, you get it 3 days early if you get it for $120, right, or something like that. But then he says, like, for $80 for Life is Strange, 2 weeks. They're like, 2 weeks? That's way too early. I'm like, yeah, dude. We discussed it with you. Like, even as a review copy, 2 weeks is, like, stupid early, dude.
Yeah.
But, like, you're getting it 2 weeks early? 2 weeks, dude. I remember when we bought the same company, Deck 9, and, with Telltale as well.
Yeah.
With the Expanse, you get to play the game 48 hours, 2 days early.
Yeah, it's 2 days early, yeah. 2 days.
Yeah, two days early for each episode, which didn't work for us a lot. That was frustrating. But 2 weeks, I'm like, nah, dude, I don't want to buy anything.
Physically do it at the minute. It's like, this is why I feel like when I talk to people, like, Life is Strange has been a big part of my life. It has been, like, for covering it from a games industry perspective, from making this channel, doing the podcast review, keeping the conversations going. It really, you don't understand how much it irritates me and how angry I am about the edition. And, like, even when Adam said, like, I'm going to buy it because of, like, this. For example, I think there'll be a blackout on the channel, for example, this channel, where we don't talk about any leaks and stuff. Like, we'll talk about Life is Strange Double Exposure when it's out. So when the game is out on its proper release date, we'll talk about the spoilers and stuff. But before that, I don't think we're going to bring anything in that conversation because it's unfair. People are, like, struggling with money as well. And you're putting out for $30 extra with cat content and rejected microtransaction DLCs. That is not justified. It's not even justifiable for the price. Because, like, I don't like any of this early access stuff. I don't like anything because everything that the publishers are doing, any publisher is doing it for commercial monetization incentives. But when it's Call of Duty and it's just the multiplayer, fair game, it's multiplayer. When it's FIFA, multiplayer, fair game. Anything that's story related should never, ever be released before it's released. Even Assassin's Creed, 48 hours, I don't like it, reasonable. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We talk about TV shows.
It's insane, dude.
People watch House of Dragons and they get spoiled the next day on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they don't even get a chance to watch the show. And it's Adam, I don't know if I can do it. I really don't. Because it's like the $30 is like making me even more angry. This is why, like, my
it's not about like, I can afford it. It's just like, I don't want to give them any more money than I have to, man. In fact, like, I kind of want to pre-order this at my local retro shop so that at least I give some money to my local retro shop, dude.
And I've seen other people say as well, where they're like, I might just buy it on sale later on or do stuff. I think people are quite disenfranchised.
I totally like get by that, man. Like, wait like a couple weeks and this will be on sale for like $30 to $25.
Which I think is what you've said very much from the beginning, from the Double Exposure live stream event, where you said it is perfect marketing because it's Max. So they don't need to do the press events. They don't need to do the press junkets. They're obviously marred with allegations among many other things. They don't need to do that. So I think, like,
I'm not looking forward to this game, man. I'm not excited for it. I'm not speculating. This is the first Life is Strange game where I'm just like, I'm not stoked, dude. I'm really not stoked about this.
Do you know why I'm not at the minute as well? It's because there's about 40 red flags in my head at the minute. And that's it. I'm not even
only 40. Wow,
yeah, only 40.
That's conservative.
Only 40. Well, that's the problem though. It's like I'm looking at it like there's like 100 different red flags. I'm kind of just sitting there thinking like that's my problem with it. Otherwise, I would be excited. I'm excited for Hannah coming back. Everyone's doing the same line. Everyone loves Hannah. She's great. Once in a lifetime opportunity. But there's about 100 things I look at that game thinking like, there's issues there. There's so many things there. If anything, Adam, should we move on from this event, and then we've got our last few pieces of news, and then we'll get into our main topic. So these are minor, if anything, as well. So we've got a Life is Strange TikTok clip here that was shown, which was a fresh gameplay clip from the game. It is Amanda with Max Caulfield in the bar. They show you how the choice mechanic works, which is a 2 choice. It's an A and a B. It's kind of a bit of a flirty scene, a less flirty scene. You can watch it online. Actually, speaking of which as well, let me see if we can open that tweet up. I need to pull it up, because I pulled a poll underneath it, actually, and funnily enough, I'll show you what the results of the poll are, because quite a few people took a part in it. So we did a poll underneath it. So we were like, which option would you pick? We had 115 votes on the Twitter page, and choice A was the most popular, and then choice B was second. So choice A got 55% of the votes. Choice B got 45% of the votes. So it's a bit more, choice B is an awkwardy kind of moment. It's very much more Max Caulfield, very much more Hannah Telle, if anything, in terms of performance. But I think, if anything, I wanted to bring this up into Adam's conversation before. I don't think we've got much to add on here as well. This is very much similar to what we've seen before in True Colors, what we've seen before in Life is Strange. But this is also, for example, why it reaffirms in my idea that whichever universe you pick from, which you choose, the Bay ending or the Arcadia Bay ending, it's not that different, because ultimately they don't have the big script. It's a very linear game. It's going to be very small in concentrated size. And it's just basically an illusion of choice. That's what episodic gaming is for most parts. It's an illusion of choice. Result continues on anyway, either way.
Yeah. I'm just like, not about this. I don't like this choice base.
It's just a bit weird. I find this.
I don't like it.
Do you know what?
I saw the TikTok clip and I'm just like, it's all right. It's like,
we'll come back onto this clip in the main topic, if anything, because I think this relates to that main topic. Before that as well, last main topic, if anything, last news topic is very small. It is sort of Life is Strange related. It is Life is Strange star Ashly Burch is now come out in support of the SAG-AFTRA strike. So SAG has gone back on strike again. Ashly Burch put a post out on Instagram which said, "Until the strike is resolved, I will not work on a video game unless it's signed to a SAG-AFTRA interim or tiered budget agreement. No other contracts provide AI protections for voice and movement." So it's basically SAG actors are on strike again. Ashly Burch was part of SAG last time when Before the Storm was happening. She took a writing consultant role because she couldn't reprise Chloe. Even if she was involved in this game, we don't know if she is or not. It wouldn't affect it because she's tied to the agreement of it. But SAG is one of those things. If you were there, me and Adam have seen it before in the past. We were there when SAG went on strike last time. It affected a lot of people. Hannah Telle came back for farewell, but that was after SAG had relieved her thing. She was part of SAG at the time. Day was part of SAG, I think, as well, when Before the Storm was coming out. So she didn't reprise any of her characters. I don't know if there are any characters in there. No, but she said she would have reprised them if they were in there. Same with Nick Schreiner. Nick Schreiner didn't play Nathan in that game because of SAG strikes. It affected a lot of people. Like when the SAG strikes happen, you start seeing sizable waves in terms of like publishers. Square Enix seems to be okay, but I think Square Enix has taken that route, if anything. Since Before the Storm, they've gone for like almost non-union actors. I think Kylie is potentially looking to join SAG last time I spoke to her.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of the actors, they do hire some of them at very unknown people who haven't had a lot of resumes, who probably aren't part of SAG. So that's the other thing that they're trying to get away with it. So they're all right at the minute. So that was brought up, and I kind of wanted to do it with it, and it's not nothing like, to put loads of stuff in there, because
quick shout out to Bethesda Game Studios, who was the first game studio to go wall-to-wall unionization. So quick shout out to Bethesda there.
And you know what, as well, that's just the start, I imagine, because I think a lot more of these like developers, publishers, actors are going to continue going union route as well at this point, because it's now just getting a bit ridiculous. I think you can't stop the AI machine, because AI is too good and it will only evolve. It's a learning computer, essentially. We're going Terminator territory here. It's going to get better. It's going to improve. The only thing that's going to protect people's jobs, creativity, artwork, and stuff like that is going to be unions and stuff like that. So I think, if anything, I've said it before, I support the SAG strikes. I support these actors as well, because their livelihoods are on the line. I don't support AI content or any kind of like AI generated things. Even, for example, if you start making clips on double exposure, for example, if Chloe is there and you use Ashly Burch's voice, that is really deeply unethical, because she gets nothing out of that, and you should not be using her voice in that kind of way, shape, or form. So I'll put that out there. And I also brought this topic in, Adam, because it's also our main topic, so I thought I'd use it as a segue, because simply enough, our main topic is no more than Chloe Price, because I've seen about 500 YouTubers make the same video at the moment, where it's, is Chloe Price in the game? And I thought I'd ask Adam, is Chloe Price in the game?
It's hard to say. Like now that like everything. Okay, so I would say like with everything with the strikes, I don't think she's going to reprise her role, but I'd imagine the game is like done in terms of like voice acting and all that. Like everything's recorded, so SAG-AFTRA strikes are kind of on the wayside with that one. I don't think so. I don't know because one, if it goes into my theory that Max was kind of like a last minute altercation where it's just like, oh, just like put in Max, but then you have to think about all the other different endings. And if we're going to respect all the endings, as they say, putting in Chloe Price is kind of a risky move. Like I know Chloe comes back in the comics and it respects both endings, but at the same time, putting her in any sort of capacity, it's a little wild. I am nervous though that Chloe comes in the first 2 chapters, and if anybody plays the game 2 weeks early and sees the 2 chapters, we're gonna find out pretty soon.
Yeah, I think Adam, just give you a bit of context here because I think it's good you brought the comics up here because I've had a lot of time thinking about the comics as well. And I think that's there's 2 things I think that are going to be the future of Life is Strange, if you want for reference, which is going to be True Colors is almost like a tech demo. I'm not trying to insult True Colors. I'm saying it's a technical demo for what the future of the franchise is in terms of gameplay, in terms of how things work, in terms of like the mechanics, because Deck 9 is at the helm of it. That's why I say it's a tech demo. And then secondly is the foundation is the comics. Because I think as well, when you said it as well, Vicelli, so basically, do you know how she does the 2 endings and how it works as well? For me personally as well, because in video games, that doesn't work. Because even all the other games we played in the past, I don't know if I could really tell you a game where it's had 2 endings at the end and you've basically been able to have a continuation, like a canon ending, or like, a game that quote unquote respects both endings. Now, why Vicelli is able to do it is because basically Vicelli accepts both endings, but then the stories run in sideline. So, for example, the main end you've kind of focused on is the fact that Chloe lives, Chloe and Max live. It's great, but then also all the repercussion things happen. And and Max Caulfield is then thrown into another timeline where basically Max of that universe didn't come back and Rachel and Chloe are lovers. So basically what you're doing there is then you start having 2 timelines run coincidentally together and then they merge. So basically that's the way you respect the thing, because you go into metaverse, right? We talked about it when you said, can Felicia Khan do like a metaverse style story? Can, you talk about Kojima's, you talk about you Ken Levine's. That's why it works, if anything. So basically that's fine. It's a story where, for example, Chloe can live, Chloe can continue, Chloe can be in the game. You respect both endings, as you'd call it. That comes with a fine art. And again, that's a comic book. In a video game, we just talked about in the TikTok clip, why would anyone want Amanda as your love interest when, for example, you've chosen the Bay ending where you chose Chloe Price? Because I already felt quite icky looking at it in terms of the scene, thinking I was like, why do I want another love interest character at this point in the game with Max Caulfield when my main choice was Chloe? Because it seemed to cement that at the end of the game with that ending where it's like, they are going to stem off into a relationship. They are going to be close, kind of like characters, if anything. So if Chloe Price isn't at the beginning of the game, I think it's very much an indictment of where you expect the game to go. Chloe Price is not important to Square Enix's marketing. Chloe Price is just a character in the universe. Max Caulfield.
Then they're stupid for thinking that. Like they're absolutely like, what do you say in England? Are you thick? Are you daft?
Are you daft?
They're daft over there.
I think yes and no, Adam. Personally speaking. So Chloe Price has only really been on one main piece of like material in the entire Life is Strange series, which is Before the Storm in terms of the cover. She's on covers of comics and she's like in the background, she might have her own covers. But the main promotion material has been Max because Max's story is that. And also as well, Chloe is an extension to Max's story in that first game. That's what it is. Like she basically becomes the main focus because we're talking about Max's story. It's a coming of age story. Chloe gets dragged into the story with it and she's there. I agree with you because obviously, if you wanted to kind of capitalize on the marketing, great, because Chloe Price is loved, isn't she? This is also, though, from a publisher which doesn't think this is a gay game or a gay franchise, which in itself as well tells you about the comics, because if you watch the comics and you read them, the first couple of strips and stuff seem quite distant. Chloe and Max, they seem quite like distant. Like verging on like, a bit relationshipy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then you read the last comic series, and it's like, hang on a minute, they're like full on in the relationship and all. I'm just saying, it's almost intonally, just as an observation for me. I'm kind of like, hang on a minute. It seems like you were kind of like a little bit hesitant to push these two people together to start with, but then,
well, it's also in the way of just like we're talking about, the comics and all that. My biggest argument that Chloe is going to be like more possible, and then like you're saying that Square doesn't really care about Chloe. Who's the developer of Double Exposure?
Deck Nine.
Well, what did Deck Nine do in terms of like their first game ever with Square Enix? And that is a Chloe game, and they take a lot of credit to making Chloe lovable for some reason. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think Square knows that Chloe is like an integral part in the Life is Strange fandom. I know they don't market Chloe a lot, but they're working with the Chloe developers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think that like it's possible. I just think like, how do you do it in a way that, Emma Vicelli respects it, and like, good on you to like recognize Emma like doing that, but how can he do it in a game format while also respecting everything and the fact that they're in Vermont? You know what I mean? It's kind of a little bit wild to think about, but here's my thing. I think if Chloe does show up, it will be in the very last part of episode 2, and
So
all
you
the
think
people
she'll come before?
Yeah, she's gonna come in the format of the people who paid $80 and will spoil it on Twitter, like saying like, you have to play this game. Oh my God, Chloe's coming back, and that's going to be their marketing. There's a reason why it's 2 weeks ahead.
Play devil's advocate. What about if you wanted to make people buy it early because she's not in the first 2 parts, and then that already ties them down to buying the game?
No, I think Square Enix is too stupid. It's like, I think they're not as smart as, it's kind of like the whole thing about like what I say about people who hate the government, but when they say like the American government is like taking away like everything to them, but then they also say that they're too stupid to do anything, and like they can't be like masterminds and stupid at the same time. Like in the same way Square Enix can't be the masterminds behind games marketing and also the stupidest people that ever entered the games marketing. They're not. That goes to Ubisoft, but
Square's
in the way of Square is a very close second. It's like we're getting there, but I think that Square knows what they're doing in terms of like putting it out 2 weeks early with not a lot of marketing. And if Chloe does show up, I think she will show up within the second episode, like the last bit of the second episode, to get people like, oh my God, I gotta play it. So dumb.
I kind of agree with you, like a lot of things you said there, because obviously, as you said, like Deck 9 is seen more of the Chloe piece focus, because Max is a don't know character. And I think if anything else, I give Emma Vicelli a lot of flowers, because her story that she wrote was a Max story. Is a Max story. It's not a Rachel story. It's not a Chloe Price story. Her main focus, as you'll see in the interview we talked about, her main focus was always Max. And I think she probably did a very good job in keeping her tonally like quite Max, if anything. But as you said as well, Chloe is very much like the Before the Storm, True Colors continuation. Rihanna DeVries has worked on every project with Deck 9 since 2017 with Before the Storm. Was involved in The Expanse, was involved in True Colors, was involved in the Remastered Collection, was involved in Before the Storm, has done something in some way, shape, or form with Remastered. I know people have like looked up Rihanna's profile online, seen that Rihanna is working on certain things, including stuff on games. I would be more shocked if Rihanna DeVries isn't in the game as Chloe. I'm just saying that as a simple thing. I don't know anything about it. Don't know what Rihanna DeVries is up to. I would be more shocked if Rihanna DeVries isn't involved in the game in some way, shape, or form as Chloe Price. That just makes like a little bit of common sense to me, if anything.
I think if they went the Hannah Telle route, I think they're also going to go for the Ashly Burch route. I personally think that Ashly Burch will be reprised. If Chloe is back, I think if they're going to go as far as putting in Hannah Telle, I think Square is going to give Deck 9 the money to hire Ashly Burch. I think
Colorado to do full performance capture.
I think so. I think
I
if
don't
they're
think
gonna
she-
go, yeah, I don't know, man. I
That-
think that if they're gonna go the routes, like
So-
we didn't think that Hannah Telle would come back as Max, you know?
True, but I think like my
Yeah.
other thing with that is as well, that would surprise me more if it's Ashly Burch, if anything, because like
Yeah.
Ashly Burch has like taken her career into a different level. She's working on obviously stuff like Horizon. I imagine her
Yes.
rates have probably got higher as well since the first Life is Strange. Then also as well,
Yeah.
that was VO work as well. You'd have to fly out to Colorado to get performance capture done. Again, if it's a minor role, then maybe they have flung money. Also as well, in the IGN article we read, it's almost like Square Enix is selling Life is Strange off to the lowest bidder, as it alluded to. So it's like the budget for me doesn't seem that big. Hannah Telle would jump higher because obviously it's an opportunity of the lifetime for her to reprise Max, and obviously Hannah Telle's career has had ups and downs, dips as well. I've always felt hard done for Hannah as well. I felt like her career should have gone into that stratosphere with video games, but that's the video game industry. We've spoken to Kylie before. She was Rachel Amber in the main lead role, but it's like didn't get a flood of roles afterwards. It's just not binary.
I don't know, man. Ashly Burch worked with Night School Studios in 2019.
Really?
Yeah, she was in the game After Party.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. She played a demon in After Party. Yeah.
But was that VO though?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if she was going to get the performance capture. I know she does performance capture for Aloy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know like where her schedule's at with stuff. I just don't know if they've been able to like bring her into the studio. And I feel like Rihanna DeVries is kind of there as the Chloe kind of like, we work with Rihanna, we know Rihanna, even though I think that still sounds quite weird in my head where I see Rihanna DeVries as Chloe with Hannah Telle's Max. I just don't know if that works in my mind. But the other thing as well, I'll say as well, like obviously I know people have tweeted stuff from Katie's clips where it had Kylie there and Rihanna and said like, don't ask the actors about this and that because of NDAs, and the actors won't tell you as well. Like I've spoken to enough actors, they know their NDAs. It's not something you kind of want to break unless you like that Reddit user who leaked Life is Strange double exposure and disappeared from the face of the earth. But it's like, you don't want to really break it. But I think if anything, like I my kind of current theory is that I don't think she's going to appear in the first two chapters. I think that's too early, if anything. My kind of thing is that they'll feed you something from her. So I think you'll get like, if you've chosen the Bay ending, the one where she lives, you'll get like hallucinations, you'll get flashbacks, you'll get something where she might make a physical form. She'll make a physical appearance, but I don't think it's going to be big. I think at the end of the game, she might appear in some way, shape, or form and might like reunite with Max, but I don't think she's going to play a bigger story in the franchise going forward. That's my only fear at the minute, because I heard things about Chloe. I heard things about where the perception is. I can't verify a lot of it because it's just very like individual sources and stuff at the minute, but it's like they don't really like, Chloe isn't that important to them in that sense. Like Max is more important because Adam has said from the very beginning, since double exposure is revealed, he's like, it's the perfect marketing because Max Caulfield, everything is Max Caulfield. They're marketing on that because if Chloe Price was that important, you would put Chloe Price in the background. It's like that little thing, like with games as well. Like my own thing, MGS5, for example, like, when they released Ground Zeroes in Japan, you had Big Boss on the front cover, you had Cars on the front cover. And then when it came to North America and Europe, it's just Big Boss. They've removed Cars. And it's like, they don't want him there. Cause it's like, for marketing, Square Enix does a lot of marketing, does a lot of marketing research. It probably knows where the fandom is in terms of Chloe Price and stuff. Remember one thing, Square Enix is a global publisher, a Japanese publisher, who is trying to market things into all kinds of markets. Life is Strange is now a AAA game for them, a Western release. They're going to put it into every market they can possibly get. So if they can try and like manipulate it and not make it quote unquote the gay game, as they've alluded to in that IGN article, the allegations out against them, they're not going to necessarily want Chloe to be there from the beginning to kind of promote that, if anything. I just don't know I just don't know how I feel about the game at the minute. And I think you'll see Chloe. I think you'll get fed Chloe if you're a Life is Strange fan. Like, if you're a hardcore Price Field fan, as they call them, and you're very excited for like that, I think you'll see Chloe. But my current belief is that this is a soft reboot. And it's a soft reboot of Max's story. So I think in going forward in iterations, I don't think Max will have a main companion in terms of like a sidekick. That's like the kind of like,
No, that's the cat. The cat will be the main sidekick.
Charged at $30 extra. Do you know what as well? This would be peak Square Enix as well. You get to the end of the second chapter. To see Chloe Price, you must pay $80.
my God, dude.
And do you know what,
Get
as
outta
well? There would be people who would pay that, and it would make me even more furious, if anything.
Yeah.
My personal thing is that I don't think she's going to play that big of a part. She might actually do what you said, though, as well, in terms of pay in the first 2 chapters, because Max might need a sidekick to work out the supernatural murder mystery element of it, and be like, she needs a sidekick, and Chloe turns up. But again, I just don't see her playing that big of a role, because the game with 2 endings doesn't work until I find a video game. Can you name me a video game that you've played from your entire catalog of games that has had 2 endings and that has respected both endings?
Oh, you're talking about like a game franchise and respected an ending?
Yeah, like anything, like any game franchise, for example, that has had like 2 alternative endings at the end. So, like, for example, the first
Mass
Metal Gear,
Effect.
did it actually work?
Mass Effect Andromeda didn't work in any sort of capacity. No.
But like, that's what I mean. Like, do you know when you have like an ending? So even, for example, another example, Metal Gear Solid 1, you have an option between Otacon and Meryl at the end of the game. Basically, Kojima establishes in MGS4, we've gone for this ending. It's almost like he can't do 2 canon endings, because it's also minor to the plot point as well. But this one is central to the plot point, because a character dies. It's like you can't like, I just, the only other theory I had, Adam, and I've kind of mentioned this to other people, I think it could have worked if you had followed Emma's formula. So, for example, it might seem cheap. You basically start the story off with Max and Chloe, Chloe gets shot, right? In that moment, Max uses her powers. She's already said that she won't use her powers, but we're going to disregard anything that don't know doesn't, because that's what Square Enix is doing. She's like, okay, I'm going to use my powers. When she uses her powers, it's aged so much in a way that her powers have transformed. At that point, when she tries to rewind time, she gets yanked out the timeline and thrown into another universe where, for example, Safi is there, etc., and also Chloe Price is there. And then from there, you can basically respect both endings, because there's an ending there, which is in the other alternative timeline, where Arcadia Bay is still intact. In this one, Arcadia Bay is destroyed. For example, you could even make Chloe, even if it's out of character, an engineer at Caledon University. So that's the timeline you get thrown into. So you get thrown into another timeline where, for example, Chloe has died in this timeline because of a supernatural murder mystery. And you get thrown into the timeline where Caledon University is taking place. And Chloe Price is now working at Caledon as an engineer in some kind of way, shape, or form, like an engineer workshop, and trying to like make it believable.
Sure.
She's working in this university, prestigious, and basically this goes off the same thing where Emma Vicelli did, where, for example, Max didn't come back in this timeline. She basically left Arcadia Bay. She left with Rachel Amber. Something's happened to Rachel in between it. But basically, this is the universe where Arcadia Bay still exists. So you're basically now running 2 timelines, and she's trying to figure out the murder mystery in that one where Chloe's died, and the one in this one where Chloe's still alive, and you prevent it. You're almost the same as Safi. You're putting that much weight on Safi. Instead, just do it with Chloe Price, and it works. There, in my head, it makes a little bit of sense, because otherwise, you basically diluted the game so far. So even with Max's power, they're basically their representation has been that Max's power is obtained just because she has it. And it's like that devoid of any logic, because you've already dumbed down your character because you made her rewind time. She basically sat at the end of the last game, Adam. Michel even tweeted about it when he said, like, why is she crying? It's like we intentionally made that scene that she didn't need crying in terms of the remaster collection, because that entire like homage, like little scene that you've always picked, that Arcadia Bay ending, she accepts the fact that she can't use her powers. She knows what's going to happen. We know what happens messing with time. We enjoyed all those 7 days that we had with Chloe. We've had a great time. I remember it. And it's beautifully poetic in what she's doing. It's a coming of age story complete. And instead, 10 years later, she's like, I'm going to rewind my powers for Safi. And it's like, hang on a minute. Why don't you just rewind your time for Chloe and then live in a perpetual cycle of like hell? Because that's what you would do. Like, it makes no sense.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't think that Chloe's going to come back in any kind of capacity. I don't think they're going to take that risk. And that's what it is. It's a risk, dude.
Yeah.
But if Chloe does come back, it's going to be in the first 2 episodes, like the last part of the second episode, so that people hype up the game, so that people buy it. You know what I mean?
Do you work for Square?
What's that?
Do you work for Square? Because this is actually a very compelling theory, if anything.
That's what I mean, dude. Like, everybody who's like saying, like, you can't be... this is what I mean. Like, you can't be both a mastermind and an idiot. Like, you can't be both. I vote that Square Enix is money heavy and money marketing heavy.
For sure.
And so they're gonna reveal it, and they're hoping that people spoil it on Twitter so that people get hyped for it. That's their marketing strategy, is this 2-week gap, because that's a massive gap to be 2 weeks, and like that's the marketing, you know. But yeah, no, I vote that she's either not going to be in the game, you know, or it's going to be put into the game in such a dumb way that you're going to be like, this is stupid, dude. So I'm on that side.
Which would also make sense with the leak as well, where they said the second part of the game isn't as good. So, for example, if you reveal Chloe in the first 2 parts, as you've just suggested, and it's a lot of hype, then people buy it and then they get disappointed by the second half. Because I personally think, okay, we'll take you off, Larry. I think that maybe she does appear in some way, shape, or form, yeah? I don't think it's going to be price-fueled, kiss romance story. I just don't think it's going to be that. I think she's just going to be your sidekick.
The ghost of Chloe.
The ghost of Force Chloe. I think that we can get that Force Ghost Chloe. I think she's just going to be there, if anything. Like, in terms of like your sidekick, there will be no kind of like huge injection of like she's the main sidekick supporting you, stuff like that. Because then again, as well, that makes questions like, why do you have Safi? Why do you have Moses? Why do you have all these new characters that you're trying to like create and bring people into? When, for example, you just bring Chloe back and just follow those people instead.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then also as well, you're positioning Amanda in the game as a love interest. You're positioning another potential male character. Why would you care about Chloe then at that point? I think my theory at the minute, if anything, from what we've seen, and even when you said the tempered expectations of like, you know, excitement, I feel the same way, because there's all the red flags, because I think that what they've basically realized is that we can keep Life is Strange going because we're struggling financially as a publisher. The franchise is flailing in terms of sales and, you know, revenue and numbers and stuff. But we can bring back Max, and we can finally do the thing where we basically make a reboot with her. And we can make 3 games, 2 games. We can get Hannah Telle on the project. We can get her involved in the games. But we'll do it as a soft reboot. So it's Max's story. Whoever else is involved, you're involved. If you're not, see you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Because here's another thing as well. Take Max, for example, and she does this, and she has all these new characters around her. If you start a new game up in like 2027, and it's a Life is Strange game with Erica Morris, Alex Chen at the main helm, but none of the other characters are there, maybe barring Steph, for example, you probably wouldn't barely bat an eye. You'd be like, okay, cool. She fits with all these other characters. But the problem with the Life is Strange games, the Don't games that made, where like Life is Strange 1 and 2, if you made a game with Daniel, you'd need Sean. And if you made a game with Sean, you'd need Daniel. And you'd need some of the other characters. The same with the first Life is Strange. You make a Max game, you need Chloe, you need Kate, you need like some of these other references to support it. And I think that's the tragic shame, because I think it's going to be like, instead of having Diane Hutton in there as Kate Marsh, it's going to be like a throwaway text from Kate Marsh being like, I've done this. And it's like, and it feels soulless. It doesn't feel like it's got like enough for Max. You kind of want her to be on a call with like, you know, Alyssa or with like Kate or something, and have a lot of substance. But everything we've seen so far from the promotional material suggests to me that Chloe is just an extension of her story, and she'll appear in some way, shape, or form, hallucinations, dream sequences, and she might make a minor appearance. But ultimately, she's not the future of the story with Max. She's just a part of her story. Which I think that's that. And I don't know if you've got anything else to add before we move into comment of the day.
I just think that Square Enix is money driven. That's it.
I agree as well. And they can send me a lovely Kaladin owl, please, as well. I'll take the pin if you want. You can forget about him. He's just hating on you. I love you, Square.
Wow.
But I think we'll end that topic. Let us know what you think. Obviously, I imagine it's a very emotionally charged topic. I don't know where. I have a lot of reservations about Chloe. I don't know where she's going to go. I've seen enough YouTubers do the comments, but I thought we'd bring it as a discussion here to have kind of like as a final nail in the head, because I don't think we're really going to bring it up until the game comes out now, if anything. I think it's just a pointless, devoid of logic conversations had unless you have the actual information. But I think your theory is very interesting, though, and you kind of leading me that could potentially be. I think as well, do you know what, Adam? I'd give Square Enix flowers for that if they did that and they put her in the first 2 episodes, because just for the marketing purpose. Because
just for marketing, dude.
That would be like, money flowing off. So if that happens, I will return and I'll be like, you called that spot on. So fair play to you. Adam, comment of the day. I've actually picked 2 comments, and I think I picked the second one because it's kind of like alludes to everything else in here. So this is a comment from our user at KL18899, and they've put on the last video, Hey guys, stumbled across something new and it kind of worries me, although it seems unlikely or it's just a coincidence. In the original Life is Strange, you can see an owl in places associated with Jefferson and a dead body at the old Prescott barn, at the junkyard, and in the new game Double Exposure. We have a lot of owls shown. In the trailer, the first gameplay and the pin, could the killer therefore be Jefferson again, or somehow could it be a teacher or tutor or even Safi's mother? Since an owl also shows up shortly before the death of Safi, owl symbolizing a teacher or someone with knowledge, question mark. I'm going to add this on here, which is a comment from Josu 7027, who put, the mum being the killer would be fine if it wasn't just a copy and paste from Life is Strange True Colors. So Adam, I think these comments, and I'll let you give your insight because I think you're going to have a lot to say here. I think this alludes to a lot of what you said, where it's like, Jefferson is not going to jump through time loops and stuff because it sounds stupid and it has it sounds like really bad fan fiction. That's fan fiction. When people tell me Vicelli's comics are fan fiction, no, Jefferson jumping through timelines and stuff to have some, back chat with Max, that's just, this is fan fiction. So that makes sense. And obviously I've noticed the owl representation. They've been throwing it around quite a lot. So it's been popping up. People being compared to the first Life is Strange. I would also say just be careful because the first Life is Strange is made by Don't Nod. This is made by Deck Nine. And obviously the disregard, it could be completely on the owl thing. So it might not even have any connotations with that. However, where it's appearing and where it is with a teacher and also Safi's mother, Adam was like, that could be it. And I'm very much now on the camp where I don't think it's going to be some Kojima mind-blowing, like, universe kind of defying things. I think it's just probably going to be her mom who's been involved in some corrupt crime or something like that because she's head honcho at Caledon University. And from there, that's what's like basically perpetuated this entire thing. So I'll leave it to you here where you go with this.
Come on, everybody knows I'm right. It's gonna be Safi's mother. It's like, it's so obvious, dude, because again, we're talking about Square. We're not talking about Deck Nine right now. We're talking about Square, like giving them like a story saying like, hey, you have to put Max in here. Hey, you have to play it safe. Square is so like on the nose with like permission of what you can and can't do.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And that's the thing. We've heard it in articles. We've heard it like Square Enix, like even with the article coming out of Deck Nine and the troubles they're having. They're saying that like Square Enix UK bullies them and says like, no, you have to do this and this. Square Enix likes to play things safe, and having Safi's mother be the killer is totally safe because what Josu 7027 said like the mom being the killer would be fine if it wasn't just a copy and paste of Life is Strange True Colors. Buddy, Square Enix is nothing but copy and paste, dude. Like exactly. It's nothing but copy and paste. The owl showing up and an owl being a symbol of knowledge, and like who better than the president of that university to be the actual killer?
And to add on to that as well, Safi's mom, as you said, is the president of Caledon University, Jefferson's teacher.
Yeah, Jefferson's just a teacher. Exactly. I think that's what I mean. They're just trying to play things safely. So I agree with these. I'm saying it right now. I don't know anything about the game. I've never seen the game. I've never played the game. Safi's mom's the killer. Straight up.
I think she is. I think it's pretty much like I think it's that. This is the Force Awakens. I kept calling True Colors the Force Awakens moment of that Life is Strange franchise. I think this is going to be the true Force Awakens moment of the franchise.
This is going to be Last Jedi, like of the series. You know what I mean? No, I just think that. Yeah, don't get your expectations too high with like, oh man, it's going to be such a great twist. It's not. No. It's not, because Square Enix is such a safe money grabbing company that it's just kind of like we're just going to see a safe money grabbing ending.
Which is funny as well because like when we talk about it on this podcast with Square, we're the only people who actually like criticize Square or say something about Square. I always see people on the line where they criticize Deck Nine. And I'm always the first to respond saying it's Square Enix. It's a Square Enix decision because
Deck Nine is filled with so many talented people. I mean, we look at unfortunately, a Zach Garris. Zach Garris, great creative mind. hypothetically not a great person. But we look at Stephen Frost. We look at
Xandros.
what's that?
Xandros.
We look at Xandros. We even
Webb.
look at Webb. We look at all these talented people at Deck 9. So I don't think it's Deck 9.
No.
I don't think it's Deck 9. I think everything that I say, it's all the 100% of the blame is going to be on Square.
And on top of that as well, just kind of like wrap up this as well, it always reminds me of when we talk about it on the podcast and we were talking about Oscar Gilbert's interview with Donan, and he was talking about the Deck 9 with the Square Enix contracts, and they were like, would you go back to Life is Strange? Would you work with Square Enix again? And it was like, you want to just sit there and it's like you read between the lines of what he's saying with like in that interview, and you can just see where it's like creative, probably like frustrations. It felt like that probably for like Michel and Luke, because it's like you make a great, and not that they've said anything to me or anything like that, I'm just kind of like FYI, and this is a hypothetical, when like Luke and Michel, who like helped engineer Life is Strange's success, made it what it was, the first one, and then took a radical, bold decision with Life is Strange 2, and just because some people didn't like it, Square Enix just dropped the marketing almost altogether, like properly marketing it. That just shows you where Square Enix is like, for me, like it's almost like your pick your poison moment. It's like they had to sell Life is Strange to them to make the game, but then it comes with a caveat of having a big publisher like this to basically, remember as well, Square Enix sold off so many IPs to the Embracer Group without any consideration about it. They've had great IPs like the Sleeping Dogs, great games, just drop them in the bin. Forspoken, remember Forspoken? We talked about that $100 million budget.
Yeah,
into the bin for like how poorly it performed. Square Enix is a very, very hard company to temper with. I put myself out here, and I've always said this to people: if you support us, that's great, because we are very independent, and we are the kind of people who sit on the internet which give you honest, rightful opinions, because we don't sit here jumping up and down being like Square Enix is going to give us free stuff and stuff like that. It's like I've always been open to working with them on interviews and stuff, but they've never taken it, and it's like, you know, that's a shame for me, if anything, because it's like we could easily like bring loads of content to people. Nada. So in itself, thank you for the comments, guys. As always, as well, if you do want your comment featured on the next episode, do leave it in the on the YouTube video, and we'll pick out the best one. We'll bring it into this episode, into the next episode. Speaking of which, Adam, towards the end of the episode, spread the arts. You want to go first?
Yes. Yeah. So I'll go first. So my spread the arts is an album I listened to. It's a pop punk band, so like a heavier pop punk band called Point North. I love Point North. I love their sound. I love their style. And it came out with an album last year, and I can't believe I didn't listen to it until now. It's an album called Prepare for Despair. Great album title. And this is going out to everybody that's... So one time I listened to the DLC podcast, and Christian Spicer pointed out, like, saying, like, with Billie Eilish's new album, saying, like, yeah, feels like an album, and I miss albums. Albums aren't made anymore. I'm like, I hate that incentive. I hate when people are like, people don't make albums anymore. Yes, they do. Absolutely, yes, they do. It's just that Spotify and Apple Music don't encourage albums. They encourage singles so they can put it on their playlist. It's no longer an album-centric. I hate that incentive, dude. So when I say that people are still making albums, not only that, but people are still making pop punk albums, you know? If you like pop punk, and especially heavier pop punk, like we're talking like a little bit more gritty, I think Point North's Prepare for Despair has a lot of elements of like old school pop punk while also being modern, and it's got a great length to it. It's got a great message behind it. The last track really wraps up the album really nicely. So if you're looking for a new album, because, you know, albums aren't made anymore, screw you for thinking that, check out Point North's Prepare for Despair. I think it's well worth a listen to.
For sure. Are they on your iPod by any chance?
It's on my wish list. I bought so that's the other thing on this. I'm back on my iPod. I'm slowly building up my library because, you know, I don't have all the money in the world. I did buy Half an Orange, like all of their anthology album. I bought Most Def's.
Apologies. Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm going to interrupt you here as well, because you just said it there as well, and you're like, not enough money at the minute, and you're building up the catalog, yeah? Think about how much money you spent on Spotify over the years, and you could have bought those individual albums, and they would have fitted perfectly on your little lovely iPod, and you would have owned full albums, Adams, not the singles, the albums.
Just full out. Yeah, I've recently canceled my Spotify premium. I'm back on an iPod. So I guess, another thing on my Spread the Arts, check out Digging the Greats. It's a YouTube channel, and he has a 4-part series. The fourth part is coming out probably by the time this episode is out, where he goes back to an iPod. So if you could look up Digging the Greats iPod, you'll find it. And it really convinced me to go back to an iPod. And so I bought a few albums just to build up my library. But yeah, Prepare for Despair is probably the next album I'll be like purchasing. So it's a really excellent album. I just had a lot of my wish list, and I'm like, I gotta pick and choose here right now. So, but yeah, check out Point North's Prepare for Despair.
It's a good shout. I think we were talking about this off podcast, and we were saying like with Adam's iPod, it's that lost art, for example, like that's almost like an antique for like young people. I was saying this to Adam, was like young kids like Gen Z, like a certain part of Gen Z and Gen Alpha will see that as an antique. Yeah, I said to Adam, it's not really an antique, it's the peak of evolution of music, because Jobs loved that as a product. He loved it. He was like, this is the evolution of what, because like, a cassette tape player was restricted to cassettes, CD player was restricted to CDs. Both those came to the iPod, and they worked in a way where it was basically the pinnacle of that evolution. So you could always have music on it and stuff. And then after Jobs died as well, and Tim Cook took over Apple, it's like almost like, let's just eliminate the iPod, because everything about the iPod was iconic. The design, the way it worked, the way it functioned, its adverts. Me and Adam were talking about the adverts with the shadows and stuff. They were just unbelievable. Everything they did was that. And it's like, even said to Adam, I was like, they could easily have released an iPod, on the anniversary. Apple, like, we're going to do a limited run of iPods, and we're going to re-release them. But also as well, it's filled with Apple Music subscriptions. So it's like you can just basically download Apple Music straight onto it. And some people will just own it because you could just own an iPod then. So it's great for that. But it's like the iPod, if in itself as well, which Adam has, which takes him back to another thing which you no longer have, which is basically you get to choose your content, because people think a lot in their day-to-day lives that they're picking their own things they're watching. But you go on Netflix, AI algorithms are feeding you. You go on YouTube, AI algorithms are feeding you. Spotify, they're feeding you the same, because like the only thing that with StrangeCast, the benefit as well is that you basically, people search for it. That's what we have at the minute. So we have a high search percentage. So people are going on there saying Life is Strange podcast, and then they find us. So we're not getting fed through an algorithm to other people. And it's probably the only positive we have with that. So it's people that actually come here, listen to the podcast because they want to find a Life is Strange podcast. But it's like, ultimately, that's the problem you have with like the music industry and stuff. You don't own things anymore. And I think hopefully people come back to it, because you think about it, I think about when you own a Netflix, and it's like, what, $15, $16 or something? How many like Blu-rays you could pick up secondhand, or even a brand new Blu-ray you could pick up? And over the year, if you're going to have that for like a year, you're going to buy one Blu-ray, you have 12 Blu-rays. But by the end of the year, you have none. And you basically have a Netflix subscription, which is going up in price, or you've cancelled and you've lost access to everything. People need to wake up. Physical asset is very important to own as well. Always support physical assets over in video games. It's also probably the reason why I might not buy that 2 weeks early access as well in Life is Strange. But anyway, so for my Spread the Arts, Adam, I've watched a lot of horror films, and they've been meh, and I don't really want to recommend them. But one thing I will recommend, and what I've been watching, is Godzilla versus Kong. So I'm not recommending this out of the proposal of like, you need to watch it because it's unbelievable. I know some people love these films, and my brother loves the Godzilla films. I found some of them are quite boring. As a spectacle, it's amazing. Like, the CG and all the other effects, great. I don't care about the story. I don't care about Monarch, or what they call the organization in there. I don't really care about all the other conspiracy level things that they're doing in the films and stuff. All I care about is seeing like really great visual setups and like things. And when you see Godzilla destroying towns and Kong jumping off like buildings and stuff, it's amazing for that. So I've watched that. I'm currently trying to get up to the next one, which is Godzilla X Kong. And then I think there's another film in that series coming out, the MonsterVerse one, in 2027. So I'm up to Godzilla X. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm the Planet of the Apes ones are on me next. The Rise of the Planet of the Apes stuff.
Yes, I forgot that came out. God, dude.
Yeah, I need to. That's my next franchise. I'm gonna move on to something. I think if you're deeply invested in them, cool. Because obviously Godzilla has like a massive fan base, like a massive one, because of like it's got its own niche kind of audience. But But like for me, I'm just like watching it for the spectacle, what it is. So I'm like trying to keep up to date with it. So yeah, I do check it out, see what you think about it. I've enjoyed all the things I've seen from it so far. But anyway, Adam, should we call it a wrap here?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, if you are new here, we always do ask one more time as well. Please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn notifications, like the video, and share with your friends. Hate saying the YouTube stuff, but again, it supports us a lot. All the likes and shares and stuff you give, it really does help support the small channel. And again, as well, StrangeCast is available on all podcast services, so do check us out there. We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. We're available on everything, and Spotify has the video version. We have over 215 followers now, and we also have 23 ratings, so thank you so much for that. And if you haven't already, please do rate us as well. Again, it helps support our visibility. This is our last episode now of July. I can say this. This is our last episode of July, thankfully, right bang on the smack bang on the end of it. We'll be back in August with 2 StrangeCast episodes. We'll be back in August with Lost Records journal episodes. I hope those, obviously, it seems it's going to be very exciting for Lost Records as well. So it seems like we're going to get more things to talk about. So do check that podcast out. And also stay tuned for Friday as well. Emma Vicelli's interview will drop. That is a YouTube exclusive. That is not on podcast services. So do check that out when it drops. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoy it. Oh, one more thing as well. Support Life is 2D. Go and check out the Life is 2D's Life is Strange episode 5 Polarized. It's free. It is free. You don't get that many times in this day and age. Yeah. It's a free game, so go and check it out. But yeah, until next time, guys, see you later. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Later.
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.